Welcome back to Breck Buzz. I'm here with Council Member Aaron Gigliello, and we're going to talk about the parking structure that Council just approved. So, Aaron, let's start with what was the impetus for building a parking structure, and where did this whole process start?
Sure. Well, let's see here. I want to say, for me, it started right when I was running for council 3 years ago. That was a big topic. We heard a lot from the community saying town is too congested, there's nowhere to park, it's a real problem. And over the next couple years, we discussed with that, the then council, which had John Warner as mayor, we had Gary Gallagher, and Ben Brewer, of course. And so we discussed it a lot, and we ended up talking to Vail Resorts and saying, hey, do you want to be our partners? Because a lot of the congestion, our visitors are a part of it, and they bring a lot of visitors, which is amazing. It's great for our town. We wouldn't want it any other way. Right. But we wanted to kind of join forces. And so we had a lot of conversations over the following year or so, and we ended up implementing the tax, the lift ticket tax. And in that language, it goes toward walkability. It goes towards sidewalks and crosswalks and things like that. It also can go toward parking and transit. And so the lift ticket tax was passed, and at the time we had only done a preliminary study, and it showed that FLOT was a great place to put a parking garage. Right. However, it was just preliminary, unfortunately. And so we then, after the tax was passed, we did an in-depth, a more thorough study, and it showed that we can only put about 200 cars on Park Avenue, according to CDOT. Yes. And it also showed, for better or for worse, that the north end of town is a better place to put a parking structure. And so then we got to work and we started looking at the north end of town and what land was there. Right. And so we saw that the gondola lots were there and that piece of land across from the gondola lots. So again, we talked to our friends at Vail Resorts to try to get a negotiation for that area. However, it didn't work out. Right. So that's what landed us here today. So we were looking at different places for a parking garage, and we can only look, for the most part, the lands that we own. Right. That's what we found. So yeah, that's what started these conversations about a parking garage.
Great. So while council was, moving forward with this project, what were the must-haves and, what you really wanted to avoid?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, we want this to be an improvement. The genesis of this, again, was congestion, it was the traffic, and it was the inability to find a place to park when you wanted to park. So I guess the first thing was do no harm. Try not to make it worse for people who are trying to get to their jobs or trying to go skiing or go shopping, any of those things. We wanted it to really be functional and not make anything else bad. So some of the other things we looked at was, of course, providing parking for our workforce and making sure that they had a safe option. We have a lot of restaurants and bars that close late, and so we wanted workers to have a place to park where they can walk and with good lighting and it not to be too complicated. So workforce was definitely something that we took into consideration. And we also wanted to keep it Breckenridge. We didn't want to plant this big monolith in the middle of town that was ugly. We wanted it to have some Breckenridge style. So we looked at that, and of course we wanted to stop the circling. We wanted to stop that, because we found that was a big problem. That's what created a lot of the traffic issues, was people didn't know where to park. So we wanted it to be obvious. Here's an area. So that's why we landed on parking structure to begin with. And we wanted to be smart with taxpayers' dollars. We didn't want to just spend a ton of money just to do it. We wanted to be smart and make sure that we can really have the taxpayers' dollars go as far as possible. And we wanted to be thoughtful with the guest experience. So we wanted to make sure that that was pretty, again, easy for guests to find parking and to know what to do. So from there to find transit or to be able to walk to where they want to go. With the FLOT, the preliminary FLOT study, we found a lot of great information that in that area, people are more likely to go shopping. They're more likely to go downtown, and they're more likely to stay a little bit later. So we really wanted to be intuitive with the design of that.
Great. So then the Walker Group, they presented a few options. We East Sawmill Lot, F Lot, Tiger Dredge, and Ice Arena Lot. So walk me through what council was able to rule out and then why eventually settled on Tiger Dredge.
Sure. So to start off with, some of these names might not be really obvious to people.
Of course.
So let's say East Sawmill Lot and the Wellington Lot, those are further north of the light in town, kind of across Alpine Bank on Main Street, but it's kind of tucked in that alley, if you can think about it that way. So the group looked at that area, and of course we own that parking lot to begin with, so that's a plus. But it's right in the middle of the historic district, and so we would have, if we were to build there, we would have to either go against our code or change our code in order to build a parking structure there, which is, none of us really had an appetite to do that. Plus, the parking was pretty inefficient there as far as how to build into those spaces. Some areas are just fit parking better than others, as you can imagine. And the use of the alley would be disrupted, and that alley is really important for some of those businesses there to get in and out. So that would change the way that those businesses operated, that back end there. And so, and also because of where it's located, it's not really an obvious site. You'd have to turn off of Park and then take another right, and it's kind of tucked away there. So I personally don't think it would cut down on the circling, because you'd have to go in, see if there's,
try to look for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and that's where we do really well with some of these boutique parking lots, and that's what causes a lot of the traffic. So I feel like that would just compound that issue. So the next area was F-Lot, as we've discussed before. And so this was tricky, and I never saw this before, but now, viewers, I encourage you to go and look. It's not flat.
Oh,
it's on an angle.
Interesting.
And so that added to the cost. And so with the construction and everything that they would have to do to make that spot work, it ended up being more expensive. And also, as I'm sure people are aware of, that crossing area for pedestrians is like the worst in the country.
Across
it
Park
is crazy busy. And I'm sure everybody knows, when you're driving down Park and you're heading toward where Park and Main meet.
You're not even thinking,
No, and you just stop and you wait for people and you stop and you wait for people. So if we were to do a parking garage right there, it would just compound that issue as well. So that would just be funneling more people across. So that was the issue with F-Lots. And then with Tiger Dredge, which is what we ended up going with, that spot was a great spot because we could build into the ground a bit. So you won't even see it as a parking garage from Park Avenue. Of course, we'll have lots of great signs so that we can direct people there.
Of course.
But it's easy access in, easy access out. We'll have two ways to get in and out. So from Park Avenue or from Adams from Main Street, and so that's nice. And the pedestrians can filter through Main Street, or they can, we can have different options for them. We can easily have buses go in and out, and so that's a nice spot. So the thought is that we can go down and we can go up. So that's where we landed. I'm trying to see. Oh, and it's also centrally located. So it's also in that.
Yeah, it's right by the Riverwalk Center.
Yeah, which I'm sorry, I didn't even explain where it is. Yes, it's right next to Riverwalk Center. And so it is in that same F-Lot area. And of course, F-Lot is just slightly south of Tiger Dredge. And so the next place that we looked is the ice rink. And the ice rink is pretty straightforward. It's flat. You can build a lot, you can build a little, you can add on horizontally. The only issue with ice rink is that obviously it's right on the south side of town.
Right.
And so it's really good for people who are coming from the south, and they can just whip in there and park. But if we were to start with ice rink, we'd be directing a lot of people through town to get there.
Right.
And so, we will need some infrastructure there, a roundabout or something, to help that flow of traffic with that intersection. But ice rink isn't exactly out. It's not out at all, actually. So we're talking about doing that after Tiger Dredge.
Right. And so we mentioned roundabouts. Where do those kind of fit in with building Tiger Dredge?
So yeah, so there'll be one. We'll be adding one. The plan, and the thing is that we haven't designed this parking garage yet.
Yeah.
So this is all preliminary. So a lot of this can still change. And I just hate to be wishy-washy, but at the same time, I really don't want to promise anything.
Of course.
That's not going to end up happening. I mean, we also have another council election coming up next year, and so these things can change. Mm-hmm. So there'll be a roundabout on the corner of Park and Main. And there will be a roundabout on the corner of Park and Village. What is that road right there? I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah, up to Beaver Run.
Yeah, up to Beaver Run.
So that will help with the ingress and egress.
Great. So then, with building this parking structure, there's kind of those people that say, let's just not build one at all. And so what is kind of your response to that, and maybe the short-term and long-term benefits of this?
Sure. Well, and I do see this is a change, right?
Yeah,
it's a change, and that's hard. It's hard because everybody loves Breckenridge. Our council all loves Breckenridge, and we love the way that it is. However, so many people are unhappy with the traffic and the parking, and that problem will just continue unless we do something.
Right.
And that's just how it is. And I would much rather continue to work on the problem and fix the problem and really try to solve the problem than to do nothing. Because if we do nothing, it'll just get worse and worse, because Breckenridge is a wonderful place that so many people want to come to, and it'll just be gridlock. And so we continue to work on the walkability and the transit. So it's not just a parking garage. We did the paid parking so that there is an open spot every block of Main Street. And we're working on the walkability so that people can feel comfortable walking into town who can. And so I feel like we've really worked on this low-lying fruit. And this is, another piece of the puzzle, and we're trying to do it so that it blends in as much as possible. And it is for the locals as much as it is for the visitors. We do want to have workforce parking here too.
Of course.
And so as far as how it'll help, in the near future, I think it will, again, alleviate the parking considerations. Hopefully people can plan to park here. It won't be a question of where am I going? I'm going to Breckenridge, where can I park? Do I park over here? I think I know the spot. My friend told me about the spot over here. Hopefully it'll just take away that headache. And as far as the future goes, I think it's a place where it can be an anchor. We talked about, maybe putting a park near there. We talked about, beautifying it, and you can do a lot of things with a parking structure. And I know that sounds like a silly thing to say, but it's true. I mean, some of these ideas
it can be really well designed and beautiful as well.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll be something that people can plan on. Yeah,
it'll be a great addition to the town and something that everyone who comes can utilize and really kind of get people into Breckenridge and enjoy everything we have to offer.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here and talking with us. So we do encourage you to stay informed, be invested in all the decisions that council is making. And so if you want to find more information, you can go to townofbreckenridge.com, where we post our work session packets and our agenda and all the information you need to stay up to date on the decisions that we're making at the town of Breckenridge. These council meetings are the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, and we encourage you to come out and make your voice heard.